Welcome and thanks for joining us. Today's Elko Live. Our guest is Conservation Educator with Nevada Department of Wildlife. Julie Gabrielson is joining us, and we are here at a long holiday weekend. And this is like the last blast of summer for a lot of people, Julie.
Oh, and I dread hearing that because
so
even though we've cooled down a little bit, I need more summer.
Yes.
I need more summer.
Me too. Because we work through the summer. A lot of people work through the summer. But yeah, all the grand plans, just seem to go by the wayside by the time August hits.
It does.
Yes. So, but the good news is plenty of opportunities to get out and enjoy the beautiful backcountry. And our NDOW is helping our teachers in the classroom too.
We do a lot with teachers in the classrooms. And right now we've got an aquatic wild workshop that's coming up on Friday, September 12th. That's going to be from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. And that's at the Elko NDOW office. This is a free workshop that allows educators to learn the tools to incorporate wildlife conservation along with an emphasis on aquatic habitat, which includes wildlife, water resources, as well as outdoor learning, and bringing that all into your classroom and your different programming. Participants, they receive an aquatic wild guide, and they also can qualify for CU credits with this training. The registration is limited to 20 participants, and you must register to attend. So for more information, you can call Nicole St. John. Her number is 775-777-2391.
And Nicole St. John can also help you if you are in the classroom with an assortment of wildlife education, right? All through the fall.
Absolutely. We do all different kinds of things from Know Your Nevada to the Trout in the Classroom program. And again, Nicole St. John is the facilitator for that. And again, her number is 777-2391. We've also got a new class, a progressive class coming. It'll run 4 to 5 weeks starting in mid-October. And that's a progressive reloading class. So you can learn how to reload your own ammunition. We're going to do 3 different calibers throughout that time, and we're going to focus heavily on safety, the equipment, as well as even going into a little bit of the cost that it would take to get started on your own. Watch for that class announcement on our social media pages so that you can get registered for it, because it will be a very small class and a very limited registration on that as well.
Thanks, Julie. And of course, we would be remiss if we did not talk about fire danger heading in, because with the Cottonwood Peak fire, northern Elko County, that's a big concern with a prime hunting area, right, Julie?
It is. It's covering a lot of country up there, and so it's really important that we maintain extreme caution as well as diligence about fire restrictions and our behavior out there on the landscape, and not just in that particular area, but across the area. And the entire region. We've gotten some pretty good precipitation over the last couple of days, but stuff's still really dry out there. So it's really important to do your due diligence while you're out there. Have plenty of water with you, even a fire extinguisher, because you never know when that spark might ignite some of that drier fuel while you're out there. And just be very aware and know what those closures are, because especially with this big fire up north of us right now, there are several, not just campground closures, but road closures. Wilson Reservoir is still temporarily closed, and be very aware of that when you're starting to plan your trip to get out there. Hunting season is in full swing. We've got lots of different hunts happening at the same time, and bird season picks up on September 1st as well. Just as a side note to that, the small game guides are available in the office if you need to grab one of those.
All right. At the same time, if you are getting out there, you need to be aware of CWD. This is a fatal disease, and NDOW is monitoring this.
It is, and we are. Nevada, we are still free of CWD, but we have found it in our neighboring states. And so our state law dictates that Nevada hunters that hunt out of state are not allowed to bring any portions of the spine or brain matter from that game that they're bringing back across state lines. It's been closely detected over in Bishop, California, which is very close to our state line. And we've initiated mandatory samples in the western part of the state through that. So there are a couple different sampling options. There's self-sampling, where you'll get an email that shows you about those self-sampling kits, as well as a QR code and what to do with those kits once you're done with them. You can also bring those animals into any of the NDOW offices, and the field offices will do the sampling for you. Make sure you call ahead to that field office and make sure that the availability of the staff is there for that. We've also got the bighorn sheep and domestic sheep interaction that we're always wanting to pay attention to. Those pathogens carried by domestic sheep, they tend to be fatal to our bighorn sheep. So as a department, we're committed to promoting the separation of the two species. So if you see bighorn outside of their known use areas, we want to hear about it. But also if you see domestic sheep within or near an occupied bighorn habitat, we want to hear about that as well.
All right. You can simply call the NDOW offices and get a game warden, give them as much information as you can, right?
Please.
Okay,
Yeah,
Julie,
please.
sounds good. Also on the topic, as hunting season is gearing up, as you said, underway already, but law enforcement is also, unfortunately, they have to remind people of some things a lot of us have taken for granted for a long time. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Residential areas, especially during your archery seasons or even some of the muzzleloader seasons, people tend to breach those lines a little bit closer to those residential areas. Spring Creek, Pleasant Valley, Lamoille, South Fork, really pay attention to those and know your boundaries while you're out there and know what's safe and not safe. So you may still be on public land, but that doesn't mean that it's actually a safe shot to take or a safe game to pursue because of those boundaries and the property lines. Also know your target, knowing that species identification and all of the animals that might be in your sight window, whether it be multiple species, which is rare, but also, multiple animals in your sight window. So make sure you know of your target and that you're not taking a risk of hitting more than just one animal on there as well. We have several common violations each year, and those range from shooting from across the road, a loaded firearm in a vehicle, and that vehicle could be an OHV of any kind as well. And that includes even on archery, having an arrow knocked and on your rest on your bow while you're in a vehicle is also considered a loaded weapon or a loaded firearm. So you want to make sure you keep those unloaded. I mean, in the chain or in the magazine is fine. In the chamber is not when you're in those vehicles. Carrying another person's tag. We don't want you doing that. Find a way for them to carry it, even for kids. Mom and dad, if you're out there with them, one really good way is to put them in a Ziploc bag and then tape them to the stock of their firearm. You could also do that on a bow if they're bow hunting as well. And then failure to punch your tag. That's a big one as well. So those are just some of the common violations that we see from year to year with the hunting.
Okay, so make sure you get up to speed on that. Get the drill down before you head out in the field, because it's exciting when you harvest and it's easy to overlook. But if you have a system, then you're less likely to.
It's very easy to overlook some of these things, and you do get caught up in the moment sometimes, and you just gotta slow down a little bit, take a breath, and just follow along and make sure you're doing it right.
Talking with Julie Gabrielson. She's our Nevada Department of Wildlife Conservation educator. This is really still a beautiful time of year if you get out and enjoy some recreation. Boating is still happening, right, Julie?
It is. Yep. Boating is still happening. People are still getting their vessels out on the water. But it's really important that you're wearing your life jacket while you're out there. Life jackets are required for anybody 12 and under on those vessels. Anybody over 12, they do not have to be wearing them, but you do have to have enough of those life jackets on your vessel to take care of everybody on there. So if you've got 3 people on there, you need to make sure you have at least 3 life jackets on there. And they need to be easily accessible, not tucked away under the big cooler or under a bunch of stuff that it's going to be difficult to get to in the event of an emergency. Paddleboards and kayaks, they need to wear PFDs as well. We have fatalities every year with these vessels that could have been prevented with the PFD use.
Yeah, there was a big wreck at Tahoe earlier in the year, Julie. I'm sure you recall. Folks had alcohol on board. They were just out for a good time. Wind came up, overturned, and I think the 2 that survived were both wearing PFDs.
It did note that. Yes, it did.
So that's one example. And then OHV, off-highway vehicle use.
Yes, use them, keep them on public lands. Make sure you stay on the existing trails and 2 track. tracks. It's really dry right now. We already talked a little bit about fire prevention. So be really responsible while you're out there. If you're parked on really dry and crispy vegetation underneath you, get back onto the 2-track road and stay where it's already designated driving areas. Not only does that help with the habitat just in general, but it does help with the fire reduction chance as well.
And then just a quick reflection too on those firearm safety rules that apply to vehicles. That applies to OHVs.
Absolutely. Yep. OHVs are included in that. So they are considered a vehicle when you're out there. So you want to make sure that your loaded firearms are not loaded when you get back into that vehicle.
All right. And along those lines, you're respecting yourself and your fellow hunters, but you're respecting private property when you're out and about.
You know, a lot of us use private property for some of our hunts for several different reasons. And when we abuse that, that's when those private property, landowners, they start pulling back some of those permissions as well. So it's really important that you respect their private property. Call them ahead of time, ask them for permission to hunt it. And if you get a no or you don't get an answer at all, just avoid the area and know the property boundaries and stay outside of their private property. If you're ever out there and you see something that just doesn't look right, you can always call our OGT line. That's our Operation Game Thief. And that's 800-992-3030. We also have the NDOW tip app that you can download on your phone and use that. You can always use either of these options as an anonymous caller as well with any kind of a tip, or you can give your full information as well, and then they can ask further follow-up questions if need be. Never approach the people in the field. Just take as much information as you can, license plates, vehicle, make, model, color, maybe the number of people that you might have seen out there, what it is that you think that you saw them doing, and just try to be as detailed as you can be when you call it in.
Yeah, and don't be surprised. Because these wardens follow up on these reports, and even it might take months or it might even take a year or more, Julie, but often it can lead to some very significant action and, prevent further damage or a crime.
It's pretty incredible what they can pull from just a limited amount of information. And if it's a legitimate violation, they can pull that information together and really do some great things with it. And if for whatever reason it was just, you saw something that just looked funny, but it ended up being legitimate, they can determine that as well pretty easily.
Yep. And you don't have to worry about a thing.
Yep.
There are bats out in our neighborhoods, and they're not just confined to caves or abandoned mines, Julie.
No, we definitely have bats in the migration. It is time for migration. So if you see a bat roosting outside on your property, that's in the eaves, trees, or screens, just let it be. If it's up, in an actual roost position, it's probably going to move on after a couple of days, if not even just after a single day. They take some breaks along that migration route. The juveniles dispersing and some of the species with that beginning of the migration, the recent weather may be creating some of the challenges for them. And that's why a lot of times they'll also hold up into some of those unusual places. If you find one roosting under the eaves or the screens during the day, just let it be. If the bat is outside, not on the ground, and sitting still, best just to leave it alone. Just like we said, again, it's going to move on its own. If you find one in your home, if a human or a pet has come into contact with a bat, or if the bat isn't behaving normally, it's on the ground in the middle of the day, things along those lines, don't touch it with your bare hands. If you're going to touch it, make sure you're wearing gloves. What we do recommend is that you just get a hold of us and we can come out and we can kind of investigate it and go from there. Most bats do not have rabies. However, we do get a couple bats that we submit every year for rabies tested, and usually have one or two that come back positive. So it's best just not to touch them. We also, on the diversity front, Mackenzie is so busy doing some of these things. We just wrapped up the West Side Shorebird Fall surveys in coordination with the Audubon Society. You can find more information on that on the Audubon website. It's a resurvey of over 100 wetland sites across the West, and they were originally surveyed about 30 years ago. So we've been doing this for a couple years now, trying to catch up on all of these different sites. The survey provides a snapshot of the shorebirds. So when you think of a shorebird, you're going to think about killdeer, the avocets, the sandpipers, and what they're doing during spring migration. a picture of the condition of these wetlands and a comparison to the previous survey results are what we look at in that entire survey.
You know, we also have cranes out here, right? Sandhill cranes.
We do.
They migrate though, right? So
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
that's so cool.
Yeah, we've got some really cool birds out here.
Yeah.
And if you go to the Argenta WMA, you'll see a big migration through there.
Oh, nice.
Outside of Battle Mountain.
I wish you could have seen Julie Gabrielson's face because it lit up even more than usual because she does love talking about birds, which is so cool. I know.
I'm terrible at identifying them, but I do love them.
I know. I do too. And you know, speaking of on the next topic, we all care for, and when we see an injured or a sick animal, we're not quite sure what to do. So you're going to give us some advice.
Yes. So, you know, we've seen a pretty heavy increase from our concerned citizens picking up wildlife that they believe to be sick or injured or even abandoned. This frequently happens with birds, but we've seen some other species being, you know, picked up as well. Some things to remember when you're doing something like that. We do not have rehab services for sick or injured wildlife here in Eastern Nevada, and NDOW does not do any rehab for wildlife. The animal's best chance for survival is for it to be left alone in an area with natural habitat and cover and away from people and pets. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the parents, especially if they're juveniles, the parents are probably much closer than you may think. There's several reasons why they may leave their young looking abandoned when in fact they're not throughout the day or certain times of the day. Some of it's, you know, to avoid predators. Some of it's so that they can get the feed that they need to come back and feed the young. But there's several different reasons why they might. And so don't always assume that they've been abandoned just because you don't see them being actively taken care of. Wild animals, they're incredibly resilient and they can overcome a ton of challenges. But if you notice something suspicious on you know, a species that you found, like a gunshot, an arrow wound, something along those lines, give us a call and then we'll definitely come out and we'll take a look at it. You can call the NDOW dispatch at 775-668-1331.
You know, I'm glad you gave that number, Julie, and I'm going to write that down because invariably it seems like when you have an issue with wildlife, it might be after hours or on the weekend, especially with a bat. But that's the number to call?
It is, yep. And they can get a hold of our game wardens from there or one of us as need be.
That is great to know. So we'll be repeating the number, providing it here as well. And we still have fishing going on.
Oh, that's year round for us, which is
course.
fantastic.
Yes.
But it is, you know, we're middle to the end of summer now, and it brings slower fishing in some of our aerial waters. The bass are still being caught out at the marshes at South Fork, Wilson, and Wild Horse. And remember, right now, temporarily, Wilson Reservoir is closed because of the fire. Area streams and rivers are really low, and fish are isolated to more of those deeper pools. The runs and the fish activity will be slower with the hotter weather and warmer water temperatures. So as things start to cool down, we hope that they would pick back up. Utah Division of Wildlife, they generously gave us about 6,000 juvenile wipers, which is a striper and white bass hybrid. And those were stocked into the South Fork Reservoir to augment the existing wiper population out there. And then anglers, and boaters, and all recreationists, we remind you to watch out for the harmful algae blooms and to use caution when you're out there in the ponds, lakes, and reservoirs. Just you want to pay attention to what's happening out there.
And it seems like those are actually, they attract children and dogs, right? They're kind of fascinated by those things.
I don't know about just children and dogs, because even when I look at it, I'm like, wow, just the creation of it and the way that it's all come together, and you want to poke it and you want to, kind of investigate a little bit more, but you do want to be careful with that and pay attention to what it potentially, the harm that it could cause to your kids, to yourself, or even your pets.
Yep. It's an algal bloom, I think is how that's pronounced. So, all right. And then obviously taking care of everything that you've taken out to the water for obvious reasons.
Before and after. So make sure you don't forget to clean, drain, and dry all of your watercraft. That's one of the key ways that we take a lot of caution in preventing the aquatic invasive species coming into our waters.
Yeah, and not just Lake Tahoe. Every one of our waters, we deserve that kind of care and attention because those are terrible invasives. They can wipe out the native fish, and they can also cause harm if they get into municipal systems. Yep. It's just incredibly destructive. So, and then operations for Nevada Department of Wildlife. If you're getting ready to go hunting, you need to have that tag, right?
Absolutely. So first come, first serve. You can pick up your first come, first serve tag at any of the NDOW offices, or you can have it shipped to you. In most cases, though, people are picking up those tags pretty close to the opening day of the, if not even a little bit into the season. So it's probably best to pick it up at an office so that you don't risk the ship to me being delayed and you not being able to get out there on time. So what happens is when you get into there, it's going to give you an option to pick it up or for the ship to me, and then just pick whichever one is best going to suit you. If you get one that's several months out, then the shipping will definitely work. But if it is close, we do recommend that you do a pickup. Also be aware on the first come, first serve of the season dates that you're actually, picking up a tag for before you put it into your cart, because once you proceed into the checkout mode of the first come, first serve, you can no longer see the actual season dates for the tag or the firearm of choice. So make sure you see that and know it really clear before you actually put it into your cart. And that's again, making sure where you're going to pick it up or have it shipped to you as well.
I mean, that applies to a blouse or anything. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Know what size you put in there.
Exactly. So just a little extra care there. And then this next topic too, I'm not sure people realize we have people fly in from like around the world for Himalayan snowcock?
Yes. So the Himalayan snowcock, the free use permits can be done online or you can get them in the office. But yeah, we're the only place in the United States, in the country, that has the Himalayan snowcock. It's right up in our rubies.
Wow, that's so cool. So good thing the tags are free, because some people go to a lot of expense to come and tramp around, and they're very elusive.
They are very elusive, and they, to listen to them, you wouldn't guess that they're a bird when you hear them without seeing them, because they actually sound very much like an elk bugling.
I did not know that.
Some of their sounds sound more like an elk bugling than you would think it was a bird.
So have you gotten to hear one before?
Oh yes. Oh. Yeah, I've seen them and heard them. I've never hunted them, but I have been able to get up on them.
Oh, how cool. That's Julie talking about our Himalayan snowcock right here in our beautiful glacier-carved Ruby Mountains. So again, more on the tags.
Return tags, they must be received in the office at least one day prior to the opening day of the season for that tag. There are forms that you can download at ndowlicensing.com. You can also pick them up at the office and just fill it out right there and turn in your tag at the same time. If you download the form, you can bring it in, or you can put it in the mail. There is an address on the form that tells you where to mail it if you choose to return it by mail. As far as duplicate tags, again, you fill out a form, pay $10 for the reprint of the tag, but they do need your driver's license to be able to do that.
And the good news too is that these licenses are good for a year.
Yes, so our hunting fishing licenses are now good from the year for a year from the date of purchase. You can also select an auto renewal on your account to where it automatically renews it at the same time of year every year. But if you don't want that on there, you got to make sure you turn it off so that you don't get surprise charges.
Yes, happy hunting and fishing for eternity.
Yes.
You're not around to enjoy it.
And if there's ever any questions about it, you can always call the office, and Natalie and Sydney are happy to help and are really good at working through that with you.
And that's great, because sometimes the online stuff can be a little scary for those of us not born digital. So what did I just click?
Yeah.
And how many subscriptions of this do I have? So get help from NDOW. So now we're on to this topic of habitat. As we opened up the program, the broadcast, Julie, talking about fire. It's been a fire year for us.
It has. And, none of us are happy about it, but we have 5 fires in the district that the Habitat team are working on right now. The Cottonwood Peak fire, which is still ongoing right now. Jakes Creek, Adobe, Hot Canyon, Sheep Creek Canyon, and the cornucopia. They all have high wildlife values, and the biologists are working closely with BLM staff on post-fire treatment plans to restore the habitat over the next 5 years. That's going to include erosion control, cheatgrass removal with an herbicide, seeding, as well as seedling planting. Some of those things, you'll actually probably see some volunteer efforts that we'll put together on some of those things as well. We're also preparing for some implementation this fall on other improvement projects to include invasive annual grass removal and possibly seeding in the Sheep Creek Mountains, the Pequops, the Ruby Mountains, as well as the Bruno WMA. They'll do a pinyon juniper removal in the North Pequops, Murdoch Mountain, and Overland Pass. That's a migration corridor and sage grouse habitat. And then a fence removal or modification in migration corridors as well. This will also potentially be another volunteer project that we'll put together. And that's going to be over in the Clover Valley area. So we've got lots of things that are in the works right now with the Habitat Division, trying to do the best that we can for the habitat of the wildlife.
Yeah, and in the face of these devastating fires, our conservation groups are going to be more important than ever. And of course, we're talking about, whether it's Ducks Unlimited, Trout Unlimited, the Elko group. I mean, there are just so many really important organizations that people can contribute to.
Absolutely. So, and they can contribute in multiple ways. They can contribute financially or with time and hours. When we do a volunteer project, we can collect hours and mileage from our volunteers, which actually rolls over into grant match. And all of that grant match goes back towards the project or the division at hand. So if it's a habitat project that we're working on and the volunteers are helping out on, that funding goes back into the habitat for more projects along those lines. If it's a game project or a fisheries, it's all likewise.
All right. That's something that just keeps on giving, and it's important to consider, especially as we go into, more conservative times. We're just going to need more volunteer help and more contributions. And then also, if people aren't aware, Julie, the public can be involved in reviewing some of the NEPA documents.
Absolutely. And we encourage you to do that. Those NEPA documents, they impact federal land in Eastern Nevada on a regular basis. So it's really important to visit the e-planning website to be informed on what's happening in Elko County and voice your opinion on it. They put those out there for that reason, and we do want to hear what the public has to say about some of those different projects and proposals that are coming.
We do have an Elko County Advisory Board to help manage local wildlife and to make recommendations to the State Wildlife Board, and that board includes diverse people, Julie. Not everybody is interested in hunting, but so that's why there are diverse people on the board for different interests.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep. And you can find out more information about that board and when they meet on the county website.
Yes, excellent. Great opportunities. And then the last thing, I guess, that we can kind of wrap up, but there is something cool I was talking to the city recreation director about, but there was a pretty big hiccup on Sunday. The state is now calling it a cyber attack, and so it did affect NDOW.
Well, it's affected all of the state offices. Some of them have been closed for several days. It was a targeted cyber attack on the state. It's under state and federal investigation, and it is being handled by the governor's technology office. Our office is open, but with limited services. So depending on what you need, it might be better for you to call ahead of time and find out if that's a service that we can handle at the time. We're not sure how long this will be limited on those services. So hopefully in the next day or so, we'll be back open to full capacity.
Great. So hopefully by the time of the broadcast, you will have restored those services. But if you do need help, NDOW is right here in Elko, 775-777-2300, right, Julie?
That's it. Yep.
All right. Well, the last thing is I bumped into our Parks and Recreation Director, James Wiley, for the city of Elko, and he said, I think we're going into design on the urban fishery.
We're waiting for some conceptual designs at this point, yes.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
It's thrilling.
It is. We're so excited to have it, start really showing its form. It's a slow process, but we're going to get there.
And it is something for the entire community to celebrate. It's located just off the 12th Street Bridge, Sharps Access area, and we'll talk more about it. A lot of people are getting on board. There's additional acreage to expand this project, and it will give Julie Gabrielson and her crew this fabulous outdoor classroom.
A whole nother classroom for us, yes.
So not just a fishing spot, but all kinds of really, like for example, we've got some big toads that make it up into our neighborhoods.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
That's exciting.
Isn't it exciting?
I'll let Jeff Peterson know about that.
Let Jeff know, because one was so big and fat he couldn't get up the curb.
Oh.
So we helped him get up the curb to get in the grass so he could relax a little.
Cool down a little bit.
Yes, because I was like, dude, you are going to get squashed out here.
Oh, my goodness. So I'll let him know that they're up there too.
Yes. Julie, thank you as always. We really appreciate the work you do for Nevada Department of Wildlife Conservation Educator. It's been a wonderful summer, and now we're ready to get right into fall.
Yes. Keep it coming.
All right. Thanks again, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today.